is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And this is the final stack of 2020.
What?
It's the last one, everybody. No more comic book reviews after this until next year. Or next week, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll have some fresh
it's
ones.
like a week away. Like, what are you doing?
No, but it's we're going to be different people then. We're going to have different ideas. The comics are going to be different, man. 2021? They're probably all going to come on your computer.
I'm going to be very political.
Oh, that's a fresh take.
Thank you.
Wow.
Here's something that is
please
not political. Actually, I guess maybe kind of it is. But let's kick it off with Batman Annual number 5 from DC Comics by James Tynion IV and James Stokoe. So this is the origin of Clown Hunter. Here we get a story of Leslie Tompkins and Clown Hunter, a little bit of Batman in it, but pretty much a flashback after his experiences backing off from killing Harley Quinn. Though this was a great story, and particularly just the collaboration between James Tynion and James Stokoe was great.
The art in this book was excellent. Just a really fun story. We've seen a lot of Clown Hunter lately, like a lot.
Yeah.
So to go back into this, I was like, oh, more? But to get the backstory and with such a great, fresh art look, like, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really liked the way the counselor talked to Clown Hunter and Batman. Like when she said that Batman is smart. Oh, I laughed. That was just fun. Yeah, it's great to get this kind of like origin story. It makes a lot more sense now with everything. I would have liked this a little bit sooner, but I'm very happy that we got it.
Justin, you talk about this a lot, but what James Tynion has been trying to do, seemingly, is add a lot of wrinkles to the Batman mythos with Clown Hunter, with Ghost Maker.
Yeah, Ghostmaker.
Yep.
Ghostmaker.
Classic character, clearly made a big impression on me, as well as just his take on Harley and the Joker and other things. And that really starts to pay off here, I think, in a nice way. It definitely makes me engendered to the character quite a bit more. Let's move on and talk about Wolverine number 8 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Adam Kubert and Viktor Bogdanovic. This is, I believe, the 350th adventure of Wolverine, and finally, they're over. This is it. This is the last adventure of Wolverine after 350. As he promised in his first appearance back in Incredible Hulk, he said, "Hey, bub, 350 times and I'm done."
Yeah.
And now that's it.
I'm gonna replace Professor X someday, he said, as he fought the Hulk.
Pete, what did you think about this issue? Did this hold up to the immense legacy of Wolverine?
No, but it we kind of got like different stories here. Some of them more enjoyable than others, but I did very much enjoy a lot of the action, and the one where like Wolverine's like punching this face in the water. That was great. Very enjoyable. It's a good way to kind of talk to people. I'm very excited for how it ended, though. I don't know if we should do spoilers or not, but I'm excited for...
No, we don't really do spoilers on this podcast after the comics have already come out. Yeah, of course, you can go.
All right, fine. I'm excited for Patch to be back and to get more Patch.
Patch Adams.
Well, Rob Williams, rest in peace, you fucking legend. But not that Patch. I'm talking about the old Wolverine Patch. So very cool.
It is interesting to touch on so much of the Wolverine legacy, as you said, Alex. Reading this book made me want to see a series that is literally just like sort of time dashing through different Wolverine eras and telling us some stories we haven't heard yet, because I feel like we get Wolverine showing up in the present day areas where he had all this history, and he's like, shit, I gotta deal with the son of this person I killed, or something. And like it made me want to see more stories throughout the Wolverine's 350 issue long history.
I really I believe Benjamin Percy invented him, the CIA character that Wolverine is hanging out with. He just feels like a very different character interacting with Wolverine, where he's not a super spy. He's just a member of the CIA. He's mostly hanging out in his backyard, and he's really just there for Wolverine to have somebody to sound off of, and that's it. He's not a mutant. That's great. There's something really involving about that relationship that feels fresh and new, and I like that quite a bit. Like the issues where it's just them talking, Very cool. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I disagree with you. That's what I was talking about when it was enjoyable. But you do get some really great kind of classic Wolverine moments. There's like a big splash page where he's like, he's kind of coming through a window with his claws out. And he's like, I got a dog in this fight.
You don't like CAA guy, Pete?
No, I don't like CAA
Can I
guy.
posit something about you? I think if they were sitting in a bar, you would like it a lot more than if they're sitting in a backyard.
Well, I very much enjoy the backyard drinking. That's all we can do right now. We can't really go in bars. It's not, the bar thing isn't really what, it was just kind of like the way the CIA guy was, that I didn't trust him, or I didn't think he was, Wolverine should be chatting with him. It seemed like Wolverine's too busy to stop for a beer at that moment.
It's like I always say, a backyard is just a bar without a pool table.
I always say that. Nailbiter Returns #8 from Image Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Mike Henderson. We get some big revelations in this issue about the game that has been going on since these fake and real serial killers. And we get a big flashback to Nailbiter's origin story, or at least I guess before his origin story. I say this every issue. I love how they're fleshing out and adding to this mythology. It's just fun. It's gross. It plays on one of my biggest fears about poking out eyeballs.
That's all I could think about. I have I don't have a lot of like picky fears, but falling down and having my eyeball catch on the edge of a sharp table is a big one. It's a big one for me. Like tripping randomly and then boop, corner of a table.
I just want to note this for the person who does transcripts on our podcast. Please put in everybody cringed when Justin said it.
Yes, exactly. Also, an umbrella spoke going into my eye.
Nailbiter is great. I mean, it should have been in our kind of like top list of the year for sure.
Here we go.
But it's one of those things where I'm really impressed with the storytelling of this book. Like they did a really amazing job of getting a lot of action in the front and like slowly rolling out the story. This is issue 8, and we're kind of getting the origin story. That's kind of crazy, but it really works in this world. It's the action and the intensity are so over the top, but the story is very interesting, which is impressive. And, the characters and the grossness and the fact that we're reacting so much to a comic book really says a lot about how well they do creating this world and sucking us all into it and kind of making a part of it. It's so creepy, and I can't believe that, this is just the tip of the iceberg for their plans to come. I can't wait to read more. This is such an intense, over-the-top book. Really well done.
Let's move on and talk about Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Dark Knight's Metal #1 from DC Comics, story by Scott Snyder, Jack Lanzing, and Colin Kelly, written by Jack Lanzing and Colin Kelly, pencils by Karl Mostert. It's appropriate that this book is about the Joker Dragon, because this is the most Ouroboros snake eating its own tail book that DC has maybe ever done. It's insane. It is a version of the Dark Multiverse where the heroes lost Dark Knight's metal that is being reflected because of Dark Knight's death metal that we're getting to see this. I went into this very trepidatious. I was not sure about this idea at all, but I think it paid off really nicely. I like this a bit, and shockingly, I think it actually has repercussions for the future of the DC universe in a big way that was very surprising.
Yeah, I really love this book. I was surprised. Dark Metal keeps turning it up, and I like the hilarious Dick Grayson shredding on the guitar and then having a kryptonite pick. That was insane. The
Very
Joker
fun.
Dragon was awesome. This is just so much fun, completely over the top. This is just great.
I like seeing Duke take such a prominent place in the DC universe, a character that I felt like was created and then occupied this weird place where was a Robin who became this new character who had metahuman abilities, which is something that really hasn't been touched upon in the Bat family. So it felt like he slipped into this sort of middle place. And to see him back here as a focus and still sort of as a Bat character while still carving out his own place, I really liked.
Yeah, good book. And definitely pick it up. Next up, The Amazing Spider-Man number 55 from Marvel, written by Nick Spencer, art by Patrick Gleason. We are continuing and maybe wrapping up the Last Remains storyline involving Harry Osborn. Seems like maybe we're moving on with something different next issue, but nothing is resolved here necessarily. No. And I got to be honest, I like this issue. I'm still willing to follow them, but we're getting to the point where I really need some answers or they're going to lose me. Personally, to be honest.
I agree with you. Like, I do think this character has been one, I guess we can say it's Harry Osborn at this point.
Yeah.
It seems like it just is. It has been held over our heads for every issue up to this point, right? For 54 issues, basically. And we're getting, it just feels like we're not getting the whole thing. And I don't know why. Because if you read this sort of by itself, it's like, oh, I see this villain has captured Peter Parker and all of his friends and is going to kill them slowly, and Peter Parker has to get away. But it does feel like there's a missing piece that sort of really binds everything together. And I'm, to your point, sick of the coyness associated with it, especially when like the Sin Eater storyline before this was so good and felt like such a great standalone story. I want to have that feeling about this issue, or this series, this arc as well.
This is just a little too intense for me for Spider-Man. Like the part where Spider-Man shoots his webbing through somebody's head and out the back of their skull was just like, holy shit. I didn't think I would ever see that in a Spider-Man comic. I think sometimes Nick Spencer is a little bit more of a shock factor. And it's, I don't know. It's pulling me out of the story a little bit if it doesn't feel like a Spider-Man comic, even though it's obviously dealing with Spider-Man and all the friends and all that stuff. Also, the MJ stuff in here was weird, but maybe that's just because I have MJ issues in Spider-Man right now.
I liked MJ being such a badass in this issue, though. Like, she really is the hero.
Yeah, she really does kind of like step up and kind of be like, all right, asshole, what the fuck is your deal?
All right, I'll throw one theory out at you about Amazing Spider-Man and what's going on that I feel like is kind of obvious, but I'm not sure that they're going to go for it. And I thought they were going to go for it in this issue based on what they said, and then they didn't. Is this because of One More Day? Like, did this happen?
I thought that too. I thought we were going to find out what MJ whispered to Mephisto, and we were going to get that it had something to do with it.
And
that's what I thought too, and then it didn't
reverse it or change it, because there's the whole thing about MJ saying no, Peter doesn't remember. Harry doing a toast and saying "Brand New Day."
Yeah,
that was the part that I was like, "Oh shit!" when that got to the middle of the issue, and then they didn't follow up on it. So that, I think, is to me is the thing where it feels like you were saying, Justin, you got to stop being coy about it. Just get to whatever it is and let us know, and hopefully that happens next issue.
Yeah, and I will say the way this issue ends makes me think they could still go that way.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely toying with our emotions in this, for sure.
Next up, Monstress Talk Stories #2 from Image Comics, written by Marjorie Liu, illustrated by Sina Takeda. I think we were unilaterally loved the first issue of this, which was, as the title implies, merely a story showing the past of some of the characters in the present day of Monstress. This tells another story of those characters' past, and it's as gorgeous and lovely and sweet and winsome.
Lush.
Lush is a great adjective. Great story.
Yeah, it's not just a story, though. It's a talk story. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
Somebody's telling somebody else the story.
A talk story, that's basically a podcast.
Weird. But yeah, I can see why this is Zalbin's
Hey, what's
favorite.
up, everybody? This is Monstress. We're sponsored this week by Blue Apron. Blue Apron.
Yeah, I can see why this is one of Zalbin's favorite picks, because it's got some like creepy furry shit in here. But that aside,
you know me.
Yeah, you're a perv.
Oh, I thought you were going to define. I thought you were going to define yourself when you said that. You know me? Question mark. Villainy.
I like to leave an air of mystery for our listeners.
Yeah.
But the art alone is just glorious. It's really just fantastic. Jumps right off the page and is worth it.
It's super dreamy in a good way. Like, I feel like this sort of plays a little bit like a prequel, but the sort of dreamy look of the art makes it feel like one of the characters is remembering this or dreaming it, which I think you don't really see in a lot of comics. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Good issue, and good 2-issue series, even if you haven't necessarily been reading the book. Next up, Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Last 52, War of the Multiverses, #1 from DC Comics. Written by Joshua Williamson and Scott Snyder, Magdalene, Visaggio, James Tynion IV, Kyle Higgins, Regine, Sawyer, Che Grayson, Marguerite, Bennett, Matthew Rosenberg, and Justin Jordan. Art by Dexter Soy, Scott Koblish, Alex Maleev, Scott Collins, Anita Martinez, Pop Mon, Inaki Miranda, Rob Gilroy, and Mike Henderson. This is a bunch of stories that take place simultaneously with the end of Dark Knight's Death Metal, as all of the multiverses are all fighting together. As usual, it's a mixed bag. Some are good, some are fine. But what jumped out at you? What did you particularly like about this issue?
I really like Bergie's story. Matt Rosenberg. The Armageddon Blues was a lot of fun. Yeah, I just some like really cool, amazing art. Yeah, but some of the stories not as good. But there was some great stuff in there.
I agree with you. I really liked the Rosenberg story, which featured Constantine and Dark Constantine, becoming friends.
Two Constantines. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know why one Constantine would trust the other one. When they're pouring the drinks, I was like, come on, if you're really a Constantine.
To give you the conceit of the
know.
story, everybody is meeting their dark multiverse opposites, who they're the worst version of themselves. And Constantine, the version he meets himself, is basically indistinguishable from himself. Yeah. And it's fun. They just get a drink in the Oblivion bar and hang out, compare notes. It's a good time.
I also really like the story right before that by Marguerite Bennett and Anaka Miranda, which was a penguin-focused story, which felt super specific and good and horrifying in a great way.
Yeah. Good stuff. I think a good collection, better than I expected. And definitely, if you've been enjoying Dark Knight's Death Metal, a good thing to pick up. Next up, Avengers #4 from Marvel by Jason Aaron and Javier Garron. This is kicking off the Phoenix storyline in earnest. Justin, what do you think? You were into this.
Our very own JT Sizz.
Let me handle this one, guys.
All right.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I feel like Jason Aaron has really cornered the market on these fun, high-stakes Avengers stories that take a premise and just lay it on the table and then just really amp it all the way up and tell us these wild stories focusing on the different Avengers dealing with, in this case, the Phoenix Force. We had all the great Ghost Rider stuff before this, the vampire stuff before that. I've been really enjoying these runs. They're a little bit lighter than you might expect the Avengers to be, but it's great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Art is glorious. It's just kind of like a great kind of jumping on point for this kind of big thing that's happening. But I like how, even though it's huge, there's a lot of fun, really small, cool moments. I also love when Captain America has downtime, he's just punching shit, just working shit out. You got to respect that, man. That's just great.
Yeah, I like this. This is fun. I mean, there's not much going on here in terms of innovation, but it's Doctor Doom versus Captain America, and that's a good time,
Yeah, it's fun.
Next up, Lost Soldiers #5 from Image Comics by Alice Cott and Luca Casalanguido. This is, I think, the last issue of this. We've checked in a couple of issues here. Gorgeous book.
Is so good in this book, especially the last sort of run, the last sequence going to the end. Really just a great combination of words and text while bringing the story together. Words and pictures while bringing the story together. Really well done.
Yeah, it's Guida. I know it's tough, with the name or whatever, but just wanted to kind of point that out.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
but
Pete.
yeah.
Hey, Pete, I'm glad you never get names wrong, and you're always here to correct
Oh, no,
me on
I'm not. No. Zalbin, I am not attacking you on that. I am awful.
You son of a bitch.
Wow, I knew we'd break up eventually.
To help
But here,
The
on this, the
person's-
precipice of 2021, our year, the year we always said was going to be our year.
I'm just trying to look out for.
We had
Lisa.
that 15-year plan.
Exactly. Textbook. We've hit every mark.
But this is like so creepy in a lot of different ways. I kind of had to read it a couple times to really try to get what was happening. It's very intense. It's really well done. But it's really just very moving, and it's just it shakes you a little bit.
Good stuff. Let's move on and talk about the Jonah Hex special #1 from DC Comics, written by Magdalene Visaggio, art by Gleb Melnikov. This is focusing on a character. I don't know if it was created by Brian Michael Bendis, but certainly he wrote it over in his Young Justice book. This is a descendant of Jonah Hex who lives in the modern day. In this book, she is dealing with the resurgence of an old villain. I loved this book. I thought this was such a fun story. And I was very surprised to find out the art was by Gleb Melnikov instead of Humberto Ramos, because I thought it was Humberto Ramos for a good portion of the book. It was not. But just a fun mashup of Western story and magic, and just the positivity of the Jonah Hex character is infectious over the course of the pages.
I agree. I want to see more from this character.
I had a hard time with this. The art, I agree, is unbelievable. It's an interesting story, but the problem I had was this doesn't feel like someone who's related to Jonah Hex in any way. I wanted her to be...
You wanted her to have a piece of skin connecting her top lip and her bottom lip.
No. I wanted her personality to be kind of like a little gruff, not trust people as much, like kind of feel a little bit like Jonah Hex. Give me that relation. But she was very sunny and nice, and I'm like, that doesn't feel like a Hex to me.
Like a fresh take, you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, hey, let's change the character, maybe make him a little bit more approachable. Cool, but you got Hex on the last name, so I want to see some grit. I want to see, a little bit meaner type of person that
you want to see
a
piece of skin connect the grittiness to.
Stop saying the skin. The skin's not the character.
Like a googly eye.
It
You
kind
want a
of
googly
is.
eye.
It's kind of the character.
If I were to name 4 things about Jonah Hex, I think 3 of them would be the one side of his face.
Oh my God. I read a lot of Jonah Hex. I love Jonah Hex, so I had a lot of high hopes for this. I think it's great. I do want more of this, but I hope the more we get, the more we kind of find out a little bit darker stuff about
How many times have you watched the Jonah Hex movie?
That is garbage. Don't talk about that.
I mean, I will mention there's a really great interview where Josh Brolin mentions that he always wanted to play a character that had a piece of skin that connected his top lip and his bottom lip.
The skin is not the character.
It's kind of the character.
He talks about it all the time. Plus, most of the issues, he's going to the dermatologist to get that thing treated.
I fucking hate you guys so much.
An early Western dermatologist.
Why do I do this? Why do I do this to myself?
Moisturize it, Jonah. Moisturizer, got it. So hard to keep so chapped.
It's very
It's
dry
like
here in the
lip.
desert.
Or at least have a line
we're in
that's
a
like,
desert.
I'm trying to not be like Jonah Hex. You know what I mean? Like, give me something.
Yeah. I am a medicine man, and I recommend you moisturize. King of Black, Iron Man, Dr. Doom, #1 from Marvel, written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Salvador Laca. As you can figure out for the title, this is Iron Man and Dr. Doom teaming up during the whole King of Black storyline to try and kill Santa Claus. Justin, you've been very anti-Santa Claus in Marvel Comics over the past couple of weeks. How did this issue strike you?
I gotta say, I thought this was fun. I feel like Christopher Cantwell is occupying the space of like just good storytelling that are sort of funny, but have these like good underpinnings, like the Doctor Doom series that he just did, and it was such a surprise. I guess so it got me.
Yeah, it was the look on his face when they're like, "Is that Santa?" That was really fun. I agree. It's kind of insane, but it's a fun story. Yeah, I mean, if people love vines, creepy vines, they're gonna love the story as well.
Yeah, if you love creepy vines, definitely check out this book. Moving on.
I love red vines. Is this story still accessible?
God,
Oh,
only good for soda. If you get soda
Just
in the movie
kidding.
theater,
Nobody loves red vines.
Nobody loves red vines. I love Twizzlers though.
Twizzlers. Yeah, now we're talking.
I don't like any of them. I want my candy to be not rope.
What?
Non-ropey.
What about sour straws? What about those?
Give me a Sour Patch Child.
Oh,
I'll eat those.
Child.
fair enough. Stranger Things Science Camp, number 4, speaking of children, Dark Horse Comics, written by Jody Hauser, pencils by Edgar Salazar. So this is wrapping up this storyline taking place between season 2 and 3 as Dustin and his new girlfriend fight a serial killer at camp. Spoiler, turns out maybe not totally a serial killer. Pete, you seem to like this. What's going on?
This is great. This is what I wanted from the beginning. I wanted to see how they got together. This is just kind of a fun. I appreciated what they did here. They connected things for us. That's what I want when it's like between, seasons. Like, give me how this happened. They did it in such a great way that felt like the characters we know and love. I thought this was great. I thought it was made sense. That it was, I don't want to spoil it, but it was cool. It totally felt like it fit in the world, and I was very happy.
I was down on the first couple issues of this, but I thought this last issue really wrapped it up nicely.
Yeah.
It felt like we really landed in a place where it felt more like the Dustin character, and that he found sort of a new batch of kids to really do a stranger thing with.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was fun. I enjoyed this series overall. My one quibble is, and this is an impossible problem to get past, but it felt like there is no way that Dustin would ever not mention everything that happened to this comic book series to his friends on the show.
Yeah.
He would not shut the fuck up about what went on here. The fact that he didn't mention it was I don't believe that this is necessarily canonical. There's that leap there.
Oh, that's insane.
Dustin, the character from Stranger Things, would not be like, hey, there was a serial killer at camp. He wouldn't mention that.
Yeah, but this is a comic that takes place in between. You can't go back and retroactively change what happened.
100%. I respect that they needed to do
That's not
this,
how
so they
this
made
works,
the story
man.
work. No,
the show's already came out.
I understand logically.
You can't.
To be
what
fair,
are they
guys,
do?
in between seasons of Comic Book Club, I fought a serial killer to the death.
You didn't mention that,
and I did mention it.
Okay. You also
what
got
happens in between
right?
seasons stays in between seasons.
In between panels, shit goes down, bro.
Man, it is. I'll tell you what. It is the never-ending story. That's the main thing that I would take away from it. Justice League Endless Winter #2 from DC Comics, written by Andy Lanning and Ron Mars, art by Carmine de.
Wow. Wow.
Saw Pete looking at me and I couldn't finish it.
Pete holding up a notepad, getting ready.
Oh my god!
Red line.
Oh my god! He just bailed on it. Oh my god!
That was the most Pete thing you've ever done. Is to get into trouble and be like, well, I'm not going to finish that.
Carmine did Gian
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. You're a wonderful artist. And Howard Porter. This is wrapping up the Endless Winter storyline that's run through a couple of books over the past couple of months. We were pretty high on the first issue, but how do you feel about how this event wrapped up?
It's much more different reading this during winter. You really feel the cold.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Pete, what about you?
Oh my god. All right. First off, I want to give a shout out, variant cover by Daniel Warren Johnson. I thought this was amazing art, great story. The sad Batman line kind of hurt me a little bit, where it was just like, yeah, the chance to be with your family, anyone would understand. I was like, oh, poor sad Batman. That was tough. Tough little moment there. But yeah, I thought this was great.
It's interesting how much Black Adam becomes the center point of this story, which I am not crazy into, but that's where we are, I guess.
I do feel like we've gotten a little repetitive with the Black Adam storylines where he's like, Black Adam, you shouldn't be here. And then Black Adam is there and he's like, I'm trying to help. And they're like, no, Black Adam. And then beat him up a little bit. I want to see something new for him. I want to see a new mode for Black Adam, you know?
Yeah, you all right? You got the hiccups or something?
Yeah, I got a little bit of the hiccups.
Yeah.
What happened?
It's like, are you getting choked up talking about Black Adam? Like, what's going on?
I love him so much.
Don't pick on Black Adam.
I love Black Adam. Yeah, this is fine, though. This is fun. Like we talked about with the first issue, Andy Lanning and Rob Mars know their way around an event. They make it fun. They know all the characters. It's enjoyable. If you've been following it all along, I think this is a solid ending. Moving on to Ghost Rider Return of Vengeance, #1 from Marvel, written by Howard Mackey, pencils by Javier Saltares. This is, as we all have been begging for, the return of some guy who has been trapped in hell and a bunch of 90s characters who escape from hell, and there's a bunch of fighting. Pete, I'm sure you love this.
Yeah, this was like younger me, like wheelhouse of just over-the-top action and crazy characters. I mean, it doesn't make much sense, but it is quite badass and a lot of fun battles and very gross stuff.
Justin?
On my end, I agree with you. When they said at the beginning of this issue, Michael Badalino, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm at someone's birthday party and I don't know who it is. And that was sort of the whole vibe here. I was like, this is like a Ghost Rider who is, this is a little mean, but it's just less interesting than all the other Ghost Riders. So I was like, I don't quite know the deal here. But
yeah, it's like heavy metal Ghost Rider, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I agree that it's also mean, but definitely reading this, I was like, who is this for? Who are they publishing this for? Have people been demanding this? I'm sure this is something that... Oh, you, Pete?
Well, younger, yeah.
Younger Pete.
Yeah.
Younger Pete.
Yeah, there you go. It's just, I don't know. Art's fine, writing's fine. I want a little more from my comics. That's all I'm saying.
There you go.
I'd like teenage me would fucking love this.
Teenage me would fuck over this.
Oh boy.
Speaking of getting a little more from our comics, let's move on to our next one.
Colonel Weird, Cosmogog #3 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Jeff Lemire, art and letters by Tyler Crook. Spitting out a black hammer, Colonel Weird is continuing to jump through his timeline Slaughterhouse 5 style, mix things up. There's something he's forgetting. He's trying to figure it out. My God, this series is so good.
So good. I love this title so much. It's Black Hammer does such a good job of being like, yeah, we're telling sort of Justice League stories that have like indie comics Justice League stories, you could say. And this is just a perfect version of that. I love the art. I love the Slaughterhouse 5-ness of it. It really just, it keeps hitting the mark, which is hard to do with what they've established here.
Also, there's a lot of like, I completely agree with everything you're saying. This is really phenomenal. The art's bananas good. But there's also like a lot of really cool things. Like he stops and talks with this like somewhat maybe homeless dude on the corner. And then and the homeless dude had a little flower in his hair. And then later when we see him, the weird guy has a flower in his hair, similar to how he did. There's a lot of great details. It's just very impressive, this kind of weird-ass storytelling. I can't wait to see how this wraps up.
I love how Tyler Crook, draws Colonel Weird just with this mixture of vulnerability and sadness throughout the book.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. We've talked about this before with Black Hammer, but just the way that Jeff Lemire is creating this own universe for himself and his characters is awesome. So this is great.
Also, like the eyeball stuff was not as like cringeworthy as Nailbiter. It was very creative and weird, but not like cringeworthy, which was cool. And also,
shoots, to clarify, he shoots a giant eyeball.
Yeah, and then we get like a tease image for the next issue, and the little prince from outer space style, just so cool.
Great books. And that's it for the stack. If you'd like to support us, patreon.com/comicbookclub. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast and YouTube, iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen to the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast. More at Comic Book Live on Twitter. And that is it for 2020. We will see you for more stack in 2021.
See you in the future.
It's next fucking week, guys. Why are you making a big deal?
No, the world's going to be different.
I'm going to be so much older.
We're going to get to download our comics onto a tablet.
Alex